Hello, my loves. This is Johanna Burkhardt. I am a multidimensional channel, teacher, healer, and author. And I am obsessed with all things metaphysical, esoteric, galactic, and of course, the healing journey. And I'm here to share my stories, my wisdom, and my teachings about being human in the illusion that we call reality. Welcome to Cosmic Blonde.
Hello, my loves. Today's episode is going to be a hodgepodge of things, and we're just going to let things flow because I've had quite a few aha moments over the last week, and I kind of want to talk about a few of them. And for those who don't know, I have been writing my official third book that will remain nameless for right now. I finished it about 2 weeks ago and began the editing process this past week. And the editing process has always been something that I have not enjoyed. The first two books, I had an editor, and I was just basically given the rewrites, and the, grammar and spelling and things were all changed for me. This time, I am going to go for a book deal. And we'll see how that goes. I'm not opposed to self-publishing again, but I would much rather prefer a book deal. And so I'm taking my time and rereading the book that I just wrote and doing the rewrites and doing the edits. And of course, it's taking a little bit longer. And I have dreaded this moment because I still have PTSD from the edits and rewrites of Holy Grail. And I had an editor then who was also one of my best friends who really knows my voice. But that was also my first really big book, right? I also wrote Become Your Own Superhero, but that was a children's empowerment journal. It was a much easier write and a much easier edit. The formatting, that's a whole nother story. That was a complete and utter nightmare. But these are the things that you do, right? The joy came in the writing. But doing this myself, reading it back section by section, editing it, elaborating, adding in, removing, doing all of those things has been a blessing. And I literally only edited the preface and chapter one. And I already added an additional 1,000 words. And I've said this before that writing for me is such a healing process. Writing my story, sharing my story, it has allowed me to heal so many layers and go so much deeper into my pain and seeing the purpose behind the pain, seeing how my stories, even on my podcast, telling you guys the things that I experience in life and in dating, my aha moments, my trials and tribulations. While it's vulnerable, it's very transparent. It's healing. For me, it's healing for you. And I know that because people reach out to me, and I love it when they do. Because when you're doing podcasting, especially, and writing books, honestly, it's one-sided. I'm putting the content out there. I'm putting my heart out there, and I have no idea if it's making an impact. And I just have to hold on to the fact that the process of writing and the process of sharing has been impactful for me. So, one of the things that I struggle with or have struggled with in my awakening, I would say it probably began in 2018, 2019. And a lot of it had to do with adrenal fatigue too, was sleep. I would be wired and tired at night, or just restless, or just not tired at all, and like wide awake, ready to rave and have a great time. And it wouldn't be until probably 2020, 2021 that I heard Matt Kahn say that he struggled with sleep as well. And he had given me given anybody who listened, a few processes that he had used to help him get rest, meaning just rest his body, rest his nervous system. And something that he said that my guides have also said to me is that when you reach a certain level in your consciousness, when you reach certain frequencies, sleep is no longer really necessary in the way that we see it, number one. Meaning, sleeping, its primary function is for rest and rejuvenation and healing. So if you are somebody who doesn't eat well, or who is constantly stressed, or who is in a very toxic environment, maybe that's mentally, emotionally, but also physically, especially if you're eating foods that are toxic, again, seed oils, sugar, highly processed foods, if you are somebody who uses a lot of toxic products, toxic chemicals, work in environments of such, those toxins take the place of where your minerals and other nutrients are supposed to be. And so your minerals and your nutrients that you intake through food or supplementation essentially go in and right back out of your system. They don't go into the spaces that actually need them, because that space is now occupied by toxins. And why detoxing is such an important part of the awakening journey. It's often why people wake up and become vegans or fruitarians or start fasting, all things I did. Because you have this, your soul has this desire to detox your system, because your body is what's ascending. Your soul will always evolve regardless, but your body's what's actually ascending, moving from carbon to crystalline. And if it's constantly polluted, you're going to need a lot more sleep so that your body can try its best to repair itself. And often the people who are in that space usually get sick more often, or have autoimmune diseases or other diseases or illnesses. And some people have chosen in this life to have those diseases and illnesses because it's through their process of sharing their healing journey or their transformation that they provide inspiration and light for others to heal themselves as well. And that is a part of that process. But staying on the sleep train, they always tell me that the cleaner your physical vessel is, and the more aligned your frequency, the less sleep you will actually need. That doesn't mean you won't need rest. And here's where the second phase of this comes in. We also have to look at our programming and conditioning of our society or our parents and how we grew up. There's so many programs and conditioning that says we have to sleep during a certain window of time. We even see that in Chinese medicine, where it says you should eat between, if you're, for me, I'm an earth element. So I eat, my body supposedly digests best between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. And so that's when it's best time for me to eat. But we also have to remember that time is a construct of measurement that we created for this dualistic experience. Time is not real. There's only ever this now moment. But we created time to measure and to track our linear experience. So even that is faulty in itself. And if you live in the United States, in a state that does the time change still, how does that work? Does it? Am I now outside of my window if I eat 10 because at 10 a.m. because it's actually now really 11 a.m.? Do you see what I'm saying? So we have to be really cautious of our belief systems and what we believe to be true and the programs and conditions that it's created in our life, and give ourselves permission to honor our natural cycle. There are some people that only need 4 hours of sleep, or who sleep in 3 hour increments, and then they get up for a few hours, and then they sleep for a little while, and then they get up for a while, and then they sleep for a while, and they go through cycles like that. There are some people who need 7 or 8 hours of sleep. There are some people who are just designed to be more awake at night and sleep during the day, but we deem them as being out of alignment. And so if you're awake at night during times when you feel like you're supposed to be sleeping, but you're not tired, there may be a reason why. Oftentimes, I have found when I'm awake that late at night, it's because there's so much light coming in, AKA information, downloads, channeled content, and I'm able to receive it better because the majority of the people around me in my state and my home are sleeping. So the collective thought field is more quiet, and I'm able to hear more clearly what's coming through. And there'll be times where I'm woken up. I was just woken up a couple of like 3 or 4 weeks ago for one of my private mentor students. I was literally woken up at 1 a.m. I started getting this message and I saw her face. So I knew it was for her. And the message was super clear. So I sat up, I channeled it out and in my notepad, and I went back to sleep. And I was able to, as long as I woke up and did that. Now, had I laid there, which I have sometimes done in the past, and tossed and turned and fought with it, then I'm awake for hours in the middle of the night, and then I'm not happy the next day. But when I get up and I honor that and I allow the information to come through, I write it down, I do whatever it is that I feel like I'm being guided to do, and then I go to sleep, even if I only get a few hours of sleep, I function the next day perfectly, as if I got 8 hours of sleep. So it's the quality of rest. And again, that has more to do with your nervous system. And so one of the things that Matt Kahn had suggested, and something that I still use from time to time, is to help yourself go into a trance state or a meditative state to where you're not really sleeping, but your body is your body is fully relaxed, your nervous system is relaxed, and you're basically just laying there in the theta state, meditating for a long period of time. And so what he said was envision a whiteboard and a dry erase marker and eraser in your hand, and write out the alphabet. Write A and then see yourself erasing it. Write B and then see yourself erasing it. And normally for me, by the time I get through or almost through the second set of the alphabet, I've usually hit that meditative state. And it may be a few hours before I kind of come out of it a little bit and see, that it was midnight, now it's 4 a.m. And it's usually not long after that that I'll go into a really deep sleep for an hour or two, and then I'll be okay again. But there were times where I wasn't sleeping for weeks. And yes, this was around the time of my adrenal fatigue, which is very different. And so I want to talk about that too, because reading back my book and doing the edits, I reached a part where I was talking about my trauma and my dad, and how that after my mom left when I was 3, I struggled to sleep. And not only that, but when I did sleep, I couldn't sleep alone. So I would crawl in my dad's bed and sleep with him. And my sleep was such a problem that I was in a preschool. The preschool was not allowed to give me nap time, right? So everybody had lunch and then they had a nap time. And how we would usually do it is we'd have swim, we'd have lunch, and then we'd have nap. And I remember my dad going in to the administrative office because I was with him and arguing with the administrator because he did not want me to take a nap. And she said, well, everybody has to take a nap. And he said, no, she's not taking a nap because she's not sleeping. And I have to get up and go to work the next day. And so you need to do something else. And so he paid extra for me to have double swim lessons. So while everybody else was napping, I was swimming again. It's probably another reason why I'm obsessed with water, from a list of, to add to the list of many reasons why I'm obsessed with water. But I was thinking about that and how for most of my life, I struggled with sleep, and how as a young adult, I slept by drinking. And that's exactly what my dad did too. My dad would always say, I can't sleep if I don't drink. It would put him to sleep. Well, you're not really getting quality sleep when you drink alcohol. In fact, alcohol creates broken sleep. You never get the deep, restful sleep that you need. You might feel like you passed out and you were out for 8 hours, but your brain is and body are not getting the restful sleep that it needs. It's working overtime to clear the toxins out of your body. So it's kind of an illusion, if you will, that it makes you sleep. It gives you the illusion of sleep, but you're never getting quality sleep. You're never getting quality rest. Your body's working overtime. So how can it, right? So I was thinking about that, and I was realizing that there are still nights. I had one last week where I'll be laying there trying to sleep, and I will feel my nervous system fully activated, and I will be restless and I will be tossing and turning. And I remember about 2 weeks ago, I think it was a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I was laying there tossing and turning. I was getting frustrated. I was looking at the clock. Nothing was working. And this thought crossed my mind, or this knowing came in, if you will, that was like, you're afraid to go to sleep. And I remember like hearing that thought, or knowing that thought and thinking, what? That's crazy. Why would I be afraid to go to sleep? So I've been sitting with that. It's attached to the trauma response of my abandonment wound, which is something that you guys all know damn well at this point, that I've been healing for quite some time. And it will be something that I continue to heal because it's a really big wound that has infiltrated so much of my life. When I was a child, the reason why I was afraid to sleep was because I was afraid I was going to wake up and my dad would not be there, the same way my mom had disappeared. Can you imagine being a 3-year-old child and being afraid to sleep because you're afraid that you're going to wake up alone? And at that age, I probably also felt like I would die, because at 3, you don't really know how to take care of yourself, right? Oh, it's kind of big. It's kind of big. It's kind of heavy. And that's why when I did sleep, it was when I was with my dad, and I was always a light sleeper, always a light sleeper. If he moved, I woke up. If he moved, I moved. If anything happened in my house, I knew. And throughout my whole life, if my kids made a noise, I was awake. If my spouse at the time or partner at the time was snoring or something was happening, I was awake for it. I was a very light sleeper. I always have been. And that's why. It's because there's this part of me that is still in this survival energy, or, this little girl inside of me, that programming is still there at some level. It's gotten so much better. It's gotten so much better. But having that aha moment was wild because I was like, wow, okay. So now that I'm an adult, is the fear the same? Is the fear the same that I'm going to wake up alone? Because I am alone. I mean, we're never really alone, right? We have our spirit team, we have our loved ones, we have our friends, we have our family, and I don't even live alone anyway, though I'm not in a partnership. But what is the fear today? And is the fear the same? Because again, I am alone, so I don't fear being alone. I'm very comfortable being alone. And I think it comes back to now I'm afraid to go to sleep. Because what if I don't wake up? What if I wake up? What if I go to sleep and I wake up and I'm not who I know myself to be? I've been so independent and so on my own for so long. I mean, even as a child, right? I was taking care of myself. I was making my own birthday cakes. I was the woman of the house at like 7 years old, doing the dishes, doing laundry, picking up after my dad. I have been so independent. I literally lived my entire life in the strong woman syndrome, the strong woman mask and personality of, I don't need anybody. I can do this all on my own. And that came from the fact that my parents weren't there doing what they needed to do to support me and care for me, right? So I understand where that program came from. But today, it's almost become this fear of waking up and being somebody that needs someone to take care of them. This fear of not being able to take care of myself. I don't even know if that makes sense to anyone else, but it makes sense to me. So that's all that matters. But at the end of the day, it's realizing that there is this fear of going to sleep and almost a FOMO, if you will, like I'm going to miss out on something or something's going to happen and I'm not going to be there to pick up the pieces. I'm not going to be there to take care of it. And that's another really big program in my life because I was the one who took care of everything. Again, I was taking care of my dad most of my life, right? And then when I didn't have him, and in addition to him, I always had spouses that needed me to take care of them, my children, their children. I have spent a life built upon other people needing me. So, what happens if I die in my sleep? What happens if something happens to me and I wake up a version of me that someone else has to take care of? Because where the fear of that is nobody really has. I've never really experienced somebody taking care of me in the way that a child would. And so that is a scary thing. And part of me healing that is healing my divine feminine and being able to receive and be cared for by someone else without an exchange, with not because I'm doing something for them, but because they want to. As a child, you're not doing anything for your parents. It's their job to care for you. Well, I never had that experience. And so having an experience where someone cares for me because they want to and not because they need to or because I've done something in exchange for it is not an experience that I've really had yet. And I don't know if I ever will, but I'm open to it. And I'm doing more and more around that work of receiving. And a lot of my dating, and why I share so much about my dating, is because that has healed a lot of that wounding. it's allowed me to heal my divine feminine in ways that it can only be from dating or being in partnership. It's allowed me to open up to receiving and allowing a man to pick me up and allowing a man to pay and allowing a man to take a cup of water with a straw and put the straw in my mouth for me, which is silly to say because I'm a grown woman with hands and arms and I can do it myself. But that's the whole point is like, I know I want someone who's like, I know you can do this. I know you're a badass. I know you're a strong woman, but sit down and let me do it for you because I want to, because I love you, because you're worthy of that. And it brings me joy to do that. And I know I'll have that experience. I'm not worried about it. I know I will. But I'm kind of swirled there, but it's that fear of what if? And that's just wild to me. So having this aha moment of around sleep, all these aha moments around sleep has kind of changed my perspective on everything. And now, at least the past couple of days, I haven't fought it so much. And that's the other key, right? You can't fight what is. So if you're not sleeping, you have to accept it. So put a low light on, read a book that can tire your eyes. If you have something creative in your mind, get it out, draw, write, speak, do what it's asking you to do. And if you aren't tired, if you aren't exhausted, you don't need to. And practice the art of meditating while in the place of sleep, where you're just allowing your nervous system and your body to go into a space of complete rest and see if that helps you. Because I know I'm not the only one who struggles with insomnia or struggles with sleep in general, especially after their awakening. And that's why it's important for me to share this today. The other thing that was huge that I actually had happen a couple of days ago, I talk a lot about parts of my journey is learning how to release expectations, detachment, surrender. Like these are big themes for me to live a like physically light, joyful life is me releasing expectations, me mastering the art of surrender and detachment. Like these are fundamentals for me. And I know that personally from my own journey. And, we always teach what we're meant to master, right? So I teach about a lot of these principles and everything that I do. And I've always heard from the guides them say this statement of don't wait for a manifestation to appear. And this is where the law of assumption comes in and where a lot of the understanding came for me early last year when I was doing my recalibrating of my own belief system. When I was doing the recalibrating of my own belief systems and ended up creating the recalibration experience and how I manifested all of everything I wanted within the first, 4 or 5 months of rewiring my mind is like, don't wait. You have to assume it's already done because time isn't real. What are you waiting for? Divine timing has nothing to do with it's not time yet, as in 6 months from now, a year from now. It's about alignment. Divine timing comes in when you are ready. You can desire it, you can want it, but are you truly ready to receive it? Are you at a space where you will be able to handle that manifestation coming true? We see this a lot with people who have one hit wonders and whether it's a movie role or a single, and then you never see or hear from them again, or someone wins the lottery and then blows it all and ends up bankrupt. Why do those things happen? It's because they were not prepared to hold the frequency within their being that came with that manifestation, with that lifestyle. Their beliefs, their inherent programmed beliefs were too limiting. And to hold something that massive with that amount of, say, wealth or success required their belief systems to be much more open and expansive, thereby expanding their container, their capacity to hold a frequency. So if you are waiting, your manifestation is waiting too, right? So, as within, so without. But a lot of times we struggle with that understanding. Well, okay, then what do we do? I don't even understand how that's possible until a few days ago. And I actually shared this today on my social platforms. I had to sit with it for a little bit. And I invite you to sit with this too. So we know everything is energy. Everything is energy. And let's use the example of waiting for us to receive a certain amount of money. We're just going to throw out an example. I want to manifest $10,000 months, right? That's something that most people want to manifest or have, if not more. I want to have $10,000 a month. I have an expectation. I expect $10,000 a month. I need $10,000 a month. The expectation or the need for that outcome to be is also energy. So if I'm very attached to needing 10,000, meaning if it doesn't happen, woe is me. My life is not good. All these bad things are going to be happening. That's an expectation and a need. I'm expecting that if this doesn't come true, X, Y, and Z will happen in return and I won't be okay. And I need it, meaning I cannot live without it. My life will not be good without it. I can't live my best life without it. That is energy. Now, in order to receive, there has to be space. There has to be space for something new to come in. But when we are holding an expectation and we need that thing, that person, place, or thing to happen in order to be happy, have a good life, whatever it is, whatever your story is, that need is filling that space. You're holding on to that need and it's filling the space. So, in theory, your manifestation is actually waiting. It's out to sea, just outside of your being and your field, which is why oftentimes people are like, I feel it. It's right here. It's right there. Why won't it come in? I need it so bad. I need it right now, but it won't come in. And then the minute that they quote unquote quit and is like, forget it. It's not going to happen. They let go. All of a sudden, boom, it happens. Why? You opened the damn door. You let go of all the energy of the need and the control. And it was like, ooh, doo, doo, look, green flag. We can now go send that ship, AKA the manifestation, into the harbor, into your energy field, and it can be received. But until we let go of control and we allow ourselves to be okay, whether it happens or it doesn't, our thing that we are desiring will forever be just outside of us. This is also why when people do manifesting rituals, I've said this for years and I will forever say this: manifestation, law of attraction, this is $1 billion industry because people love quick fixes. We've come into the time in existence where people can have anything like this. Amazon can be there in 4 hours to your house. You can pick up the phone and order food and have it delivered. There's so much things that can happen. You can go online and have instant gratification by posting something. You can be curious about something and Google it and find the answer immediately. We are programming ourselves to understand that we can have things instantly, which is not a bad thing because as more of us move into the new earth frequencies, we will start to realize that manifestation is happening at a much faster rate of speed, which is going to lead me into time here in a minute again. You just no longer need to hold on to anything. Be okay if it happens and be okay if it doesn't, because that creates that space for you to receive. You can't seek and receive at the same time. That's the other thing. You have to be present. You have to be here. You have to be in the now. And I really want you guys to sit with this. And I want you to think about the things in your life that you are wanting to manifest. And I had to take a hard look at me and say, there are things that I'm wanting to manifest. What is the story behind what would happen if it doesn't come to be? What if it doesn't come to be? What's the story? And for me, I think the biggest one was finding my soulmate. It isn't even about money, which is crazy. But my wound is love more than money. And so for me, it's always about my person and seeking my person and waiting for my person. And this is why they always say when you quit looking, they appear. Why is that? Because you made the space for them to enter. But, but, it doesn't mean that you have to give up or not want somebody. It just means you have to be okay if they come and okay if they don't. You have to keep living your life. You have to be happy in your life. You have to move forward and not wait to have somebody to go do things in life. And that was a big shift for me in 2020 when I left my husband and I didn't really have a big friends group in North Carolina. I had to start learning how to do things on my own. And that was new for me. I went to concerts by myself. I went hiking by myself. I started to go out to dinner by myself and take myself out on dates. And then I started to really enjoy it. And then I became a nomad and I was really alone. And I was really doing everything by myself. Every now and then I would meet up with somebody and have someone to do things with. But I got very comfortable on my own. But isolation is never the answer either. You were never meant to not have connections in physical form. Yes, we can have connections virtually as well, but being around people physically is very important. And so it's not about isolation either. You have to get out there. You have to make connections. You have to make relationships. You have to have that time, however that looks for you. But you have to be open, like truly open, meaning your heart is open to receive somebody. You're not afraid to let them in. You're not afraid of them hurting you. You are open to the experience, but you're also okay if that experience doesn't take place, because ultimately it will. And you have to believe that it will happen, whether that's the person, the place, or the thing, or the money, or whatever it may be. You have to know that if it's a desire on your heart, it's meant for you. It's already happened, or you wouldn't be able to see it and tap into it. It wouldn't be a desire on your heart if it didn't already exist. So now it becomes you aligning to it, and aligning to it means you have the capacity to do with it. So here's another example. And I know I'm kind of hopping all over the place, but stay with me. If you're somebody who wants to, and we kind of touched on this a moment ago, if you're somebody who wants to say make $1 million a year, are you ready and prepared to handle $1 million a year? Because they always say money doesn't fix your problems, it just upgrades them. Like you just have different problems. It's not like you don't have problems anymore. And money, yes, is a great tool for solving problems, but it's just a different set of problems that appear. So if you are having trouble managing $20,000 a year or $60,000 a year, and you get stuck at that 60,000 or 80,000 mark and you can't go beyond it, that's your upper limit. If you're spending just as much as coming in or more, if you are racking up credit card debt overspending what you have, you're not somebody who is ready or prepared to handle $1 million year because you can't manage what you have currently. And you are still struggling with your worth or with some type of trauma if you are spending more than you are receiving. If you're constantly shopping or blowing your money, there's a wound there. You don't feel worthy enough to hold it, to appreciate it, to do something valuable with it. And instead, you just, every heart's desire, you fill the void by hitting buy, or you give it away. When I came into and had a lot of money, I blew it very quickly because one, the money was tainted to me, and two, I didn't feel worthy of it. So I bought people extravagant gifts. I took my family on extravagant vacations. I spent money on ridiculous things until it was gone. I didn't invest it. I didn't save any of it. I didn't allow it to that money to make more money for me. And so learning to manage money and work with it well at wherever you are currently will actually help you to be able to hold more money and be able to receive more. But if they were to give it to you now and you can't, and you're already at this upper limit of 80,000 a year, let's say, you're going to blow it anyway. So this is a mixture of being ready, which is what we call the divine timing. So really look and be honest with yourself about where you are. And this is the other part of surrender, right? Surrender is accepting what is and making the best of it. You don't have to like where you are, but you do need to make the best of it. So you do need to manage and work within the means of where you are in your life, whether that's financially, in your love life, in your health, whatever it is. And moving into more of the time part of it, this is the last thing that we're going to touch on, and it kind of ties everything together because time has kind of been a thing that's been fluid through all of this. We know that there's only this now moment, and people always get weirded out when I say time doesn't exist. Usually it's people who aren't really that awake or aware yet. But I always say, like, if you're in Hawaii and you call New York and then three-way in Africa, you're all on the phone at the same exact time. Your clocks may read something different, but you're all in that now moment. So every now moment is just the same moment from a different perspective. That's it. And the illusion of time moving slow or fast is quite interesting because for me, it feels like time is moving at an unreal rate of speed. And the guides always say, time isn't moving, you are moving through time faster. But to give a better explanation is the more present you are, the more time is elusive. It's like it doesn't exist or it moves in a blink because you are so present. The more time you spend in your head, fragmenting, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. Think about it. I was just saying this the other day to somebody. I was like, I need an assistant again because I've gotten my energy back and I have this to do and this to do and this to do and this to do. And I feel like, oh my God, I don't have enough time. And that's when this all came to. This is when this whole concept came to fruition, which is like, wait a minute. I just fragmented myself. I just created this big list of all these things that I am putting an expectation on that need to be done. And now I feel like I don't have enough time. When I let go of that and I just focus on the now moment and what's in front of me to do, it all goes fluidly and smooth. And I also noticed this with January. I saw so many people posting online about the 850th day of January. And I'm like, what are they talking about? January went by like that. It felt like 2 seconds. And when I remember saying that to my sister-in-law, it popped into my head, yes, they're in a different dimension. they're in a different, that dimension has a different frequency. Things move differently. They are not, they're holding a different frequency. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Why we would have such wildly different experiences. And this is something that's going to continue. You know, a lot of about what I do is multidimensional mastery, and we are becoming more and more aware of our multidimensionality and the fact that there are infinite versions of us that is all happening simultaneously. There is no past, there is no future, there is no other lives on in other realities. Those things are all happening at the same time. The 3-year-old little girl of me that was left and abandoned by her mother, that's currently happening in this now moment. Just as the version of me that meets her soulmate, gets married, publishes her, her book is a bestseller, all the things that have been on my heart, that version of me also exists simultaneously. And this is why the recalibration experience was such an important program for me to run and put out, and why it was so successful for so many people was because they were entering doors and realizing that every door they entered wasn't always the future that they perceived. That they were entering that door and they were going into different time-space realities and versions of themselves. And as they did, they were learning things and they were healing things and they were creating the space and they were expanding themselves and their capacity. And so many people that did that program were wildly successful the same way I was, because I was teaching them that there really is only this now moment. So whatever you're walking into that door, whatever you're doing, you have to understand that it's showing you something. It's happening for you, one. And two, you have to assume it's already done. That doesn't mean you, when we think of act as if, which is something that I've talked about since the very beginning of me even being in the spiritual field and teaching. In fact, my very first website that I still own is Let's Act As If. The acting as if isn't about living your life as if you're a millionaire when you're not. The acting as if is knowing that it is done. It's already done. You may not be aligned to it in this moment, right? It may be in the future or a different timeline because you haven't aligned to it yet. But if you can anchor the belief system that it is in fact done and start to live from that knowing, that's what changes everything. Meaning, if I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was going to be a millionaire, if I knew without a shadow of a doubt this book would be published and become a bestseller and be picked up by a book, a publisher, if I knew without a shadow of a doubt that it was going to happen the same way when I place an order on Amazon, how would I act differently right now? Would I be stressed? Would I be worried? Would I be freaking out, or would I be relaxed? Would I say, what can I do in the meantime? How can I enjoy this now moment in time? It changes your operating system. No, you're not out there buying dinners and going on lavish vacations and being able to buy all the things that you want. But whatever is happening, you're changing the way that you interact with it. It's a filtration system. It's a lens of perception. So when you act as if, when you live from the space that it's already done, it's going, oh, the same way I talked about my partner. I know for a fact I'm going to meet my soulmate. My soulmate, not a karmic, not that there's anything wrong with karmic relationships. My soulmate. I know I'm going to meet them. I know it's going to happen in this life. I know that that is something that is going to happen. And so I can let go of needing to find them and instead make sure that I am operating and living my life as the person that I know I want to be with them. Now, prepare for it. If you order new furniture, what are you going to do? You are going to make space in your home. You're going to clean everything. You're going to freshen up the place because you don't want to bring something so beautiful and new into something old and dingy. The same thing has to happen within our being. And so there only ever is this now moment. And the next now moment is the same now moment, again, looked at from a different perspective. So I can now look at this now moment of me as three from a very different, wiser perspective, and recognize, okay, there's a fear here of other, there's a fear here around sleep. And it's a combination of X, Y, and Z. But I can see this now from a different perspective. I am outside of it. That means that that program, that belief is inherently complete because I'm no longer in it. I am outside of it. A pattern or a habit can only happen and can only be a pattern or a habit if you're unaware of it. Once you become aware of it, now it's a choice to reinforce it. And so in those moments, I'm either going to reinforce those programs and beliefs that I'm outside of looking at, or I can let them go and say, I no longer need to hold that. So when you become aware, and why self-awareness is the biggest thing, why I'm always teaching to expand your awareness, to discern and read energies, because once you see something, you can't unsee it. But it is a choice every day whether you reinforce it. And oftentimes we don't understand that. We see the belief, we see the program that's coming up, and we think because we're thinking it, because it's there, that it's something that we need to work through. And what I've been recently guided to through the guides is that all you have to do is let go of it. There's no real hard work. And every time it comes up, you just keep letting go of it. You just keep letting go of it. Because you think that it was only that one time that belief was installed. A program is created from repetition of the same belief showing up different ways continuously. So, of course, that thought or belief is going to show up in your consciousness when you're looking outside of it, and you become aware of it multiple times, multiple ways, giving you the opportunity once again to choose differently and to let it go. This is why the guides always say all you have to do is choose differently. All you ever have to do is choose differently. This or these insights are wildly profound for me. So I sure hope they were wildly profound for you. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I'm also going to put in the description of this podcast a link to the Recalibration Experience. I ran it live twice. It was wildly successful for people. One person manifested their home that they've been manifesting. I've seen people manifest money, jobs, people. It's been a wild experience to watch. And it is a 40-day intensive program. I'm not running it live anymore. It is kind of a DIY, but you still have access to the Facebook group. You still have access to me. And it is something that you can use time and time and time again. This 40-day process has been so powerful for me over the last 10 years. There will come a time when I will write a book probably called 40 Days and share every single time that I have done this and just the structure of why it's so powerful. We're not quite there yet, but it is something I know will happen. But I'm going to link it. That way, if it's something that speaks to you, it's super affordable too. If it's something that speaks to you, you can access it. If not, that's cool too. Take these awarenesses, take these ideas, and sit with them and see what it brings up for you. And I'll see you in the next episode.
Hey, thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by JohannaBurkhardt.com, where it's time to defy the limits of your mind and step into your multidimensional mastery. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. See you next time.